I received more and more emails and requests for help with things like diet, exercise, and also whether or not it's worth doing all these new fancy therapies. There's so many different kinds, including things like red light therapy. Guys, I want to give you an overview of what I think the most important things are for you, for yourselves, for myself, to benefit your life, to improve your health, to help you achieve or live as long as possible, but not just live as long as possible, but have the best quality of life as possible. For example, would you want to be someone who's 60, 70, 80 years old and you're having to get someone help you around, or you can't walk properly, or you're in a home, or your brain isn't functioning properly? To me, it's quality of life that matters the most. Quality of life, number one. Number two is, living for as long as you possibly can. And there's also the other very important factor, and not just quality of life, it's actually feeling alive, feeling like, hey, I have the energy to achieve things. Honestly, a lot of depression, a lot of people's problems, a lot of their mental issues, they think it can be solved by just talking about it. They think it can be solved by just being determined. I just watched a motivational video and I want to be determined. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do something. I can tell you from experience, me personally, I was a low energy kid. I wasn't blessed with high energy as a kid. And as an adult, I'm exactly the same. I've had to find ways to basically hijack myself to improve my energy, to change my destiny. My destiny, honestly, was not to be someone producing 6,500 videos in 3.5 years and getting hundreds of millions of views on YouTube. That was not me. I've had to hijack myself in order to be, a better version of myself. And so I'm going to share with you some of my tips on how you can do the same thing. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. I'm Sam Evans. This is the YouTube member section only. Thank you guys for becoming a member of the channel. I think we're about to approach 500 members, and I'm aiming for 1,000 by the end of the year. So if you can share this YouTube member section with your friends, that would be great. I want to share with you guys some tips here that have come from decades of research. I'm talking about literally reading thousands of studies. Guys, when I was in my teens, in my mid-20s, I would buy health and fitness magazines, but there was one that I would buy, and the first 50 pages were 50 different clinical studies from medical institutes on things that they'd be researching and studying. And I loved that magazine. Loved it. And that's what I still do. I still read all this kind of stuff. I'm very passionate about this. I'm one of those people who I find this stuff really intriguing. Now, I'm going to distill everything that I've read and learned down into as little of information as possible for you, because otherwise I'm going to overload you. I'm going to give you my 10 key points here that I think will improve your life. And they are critical. They are crucial. If you're not going to do them, if you choose not to do them, I honestly think you're making a mistake, because I can guarantee you will feel, it doesn't matter how well you're doing. If you're a marathon runner, you've just done a triathlon, you've just done the Ironman, you're a CEO, it doesn't matter. I promise you these things will immensely improve your performance, your physical and mental acuity. They will provide you with some immense benefits. And I'm going to do a second follow-up video to this. That follow-up video will be my supplementation. Supplementation is extremely important. If you're not supplementing in some way, I think you're honestly really, really missing out. I really do. You've got to supplement to get the best out of life. I can tell you, most successful YouTubers have a supplement regimen. I've talked to them. They'll tell me, yep, Sam, I've heard of that. Yep, I'm using that. Oh, what's that? I haven't heard of that before. Oh, there's a new that. Oh, right, okay. Yep, let me know about that. I've had these conversations with them, and this is a key important factor. Supplementation. Separate video that'll be coming probably next week. Okay, first thing, sauna. You've got to use a sauna. If you're not using a sauna, you're making... it's a critical error not to. Hey guys, I'm just in the one-person sauna right now. It's a one-person infrared sauna. You can get one of these really cheap. In the United States, you can get one for about $1,000 US. In Australia, about 1,700 Australian dollars. In Europe, similar. I mean, obviously you guys have some great saunas in Europe, but these little infrared saunas, they're great because they use a small amount of power, a lot less than your steam sauna. Way less than your steam sauna. And also you can get them hot fast. So you don't have to wait an hour or 2 hours for it to get up to temperature. Normally you can get it up to temperature in about 15 minutes. And that means you can really easily comply. You can go grab yourself, maybe get something ready at home, and put your sauna on, and it's, you're ready to go in 10 minutes time. So you spend in here, Really, when you get up to temperature, about 65 degrees Celsius, Fahrenheit, I'm not exactly sure what that is, I'll work that out. And just spend in here 20 minutes or 2 15-minute sessions, that's good as well. In between your session, you can come out, jump out of your sauna, and then come over here. In Finland, they did a study. It was a 10-year study. They looked at tens of thousands of people, and they studied people who used the sauna. People who used the sauna 2 or 3 days a week had a reduction in all-cause mortality by 27%. Guys, I'm not reading anything. This is coming from my brain. I've told this to a lot of people. All-cause mortality reduction by 27%. However, for those people who use the sauna 4 or more times a week, all-cause mortality was reduced by 51%. 51%. It's so easy to use a sauna. You don't need to sit in there. These Muppets on YouTube showing you, oh, look, I'm in the sauna for an hour. Look, I've made it as hot as hell in here. You've got to do this. It's all bullshit. You don't need to do that. Get yourself an infrared sauna. They're really cheap. You can get one for about $1,000 in Australia, in the United States, in Europe. They're very, very cheap. Infrared sauna. Use that at a temperature of 65 degrees Celsius for around 15 minutes a day. Or do 2 10-minute sessions if you're getting used to it and you find it difficult. That is the option. Now, Finland, who has the far highest use of saunas in the world by an order of magnitude higher than any other country, has the lowest rate of cancer worldwide as well. So that's not a coincidence. Sauna is ideal. Now, the other reason sauna is ideal, it has an enormous number of benefits. I'm going to do a video on saunas. I'm going to tell you why. There is too many things for me to list in this video. I'd be talking about it for 10, 15 minutes just on saunas. There are so many benefits. But if you use a sauna after you've eaten, massive reduction in your glucose spikes, right? Basically, the amount of insulin you're needing is being enormously reduced. And actually, it's essentially like doing a workout, like doing some exercise. That's the benefit of a sauna. You don't have to exercise. You can just sit there, do nothing. Great benefits. Red light panels. If you're not using red light in some form, you're making a critical error, I believe. You've got to use red light. Now, keep in mind, for the last 6 million years, humans have been getting red light until recently. We used to spend 96% of our time outdoors, 96%. Now we spend 96% of our time indoors, or approximately that number. We've gone from outdoor species to an indoor species. We have not evolved for that. We get enormous benefits from red light. In fact, we get benefits from blue light, believe it or not. It's crazy, but we do. Red light, we don't get though. We don't get enough. Nobody gets enough red light. Well, very few people. Now, if you're working outside from basically from sunrise to, in the evening, or you're working in sunset time, that's when you're getting a lot more red light. In the morning, very early mornings and late in the evenings. But very few people get enough red light for it to really be of benefit to them. Now, you can easily get a huge benefit from red light panels. Buy yourself 2 full body red light panels, one for the front, one for the back. If you don't want to do that, you can turn around. You can do, you can stand in front of your red light panel for the front of your body, and then you can basically turn around and do your back. Now, all you need to do, 6 minutes on the front, 6 minutes on the back. That's what I recommend, about 12 minutes. Now, if you want to do more, that's good too. In fact, if you've got an injury, like me, the broken foot, you got some sort of issue, get that injury near the red light and just slam it into that red light, spend 20, 30 minutes a day, and that will help your recovery. Now, in addition to large red light panels, which are really, really good for your entire body in numerous ways, they improve your skin, they improve energy levels. There's huge benefits to red light. I've read several books on this, looked at different studies on red light. In fact, I've watched many, many videos, lots of studies on red light. I 100% recommend everyone should do it. In fact, my children actually go in front of the red light panels, especially when they're sick. That really helps them. If you do have an injury though, you can buy a device like this. This is actually a red light therapy device, but it has low-grade red light lasers. So they're LED lights plus lasers inside here. And I put this on my foot and I just sit here and have this running on my foot. And as you can see, if you just turn it on, it shoots red light out of these. Red light out of here. And it's also a low-grade red light laser. Now, this is a United States company. I'll put a link in the description. I don't make any money from them. I had to buy that for full price. But I highly recommend, if you have an injury of some sort, then you should buy one of these. And you can put that on your injury. You're sitting at work, whatever it is. turning it off, you're sitting at work, whatever it is, then you can put it on put it on the spot where you're injured, tie it around your arm, you can strap it around your arm or wherever your injury is, and you can just sit there for an hour a day and shoot those basically healing light into your body. Now, red light does pass through your body. So if you have something inside, that's okay. It will actually benefit that too. Now, one thing I don't do enough, I admit, is meditate or mindfulness. I really don't do this enough. And I'm a fairly driven person. I can be sometimes a pretty full-on person sometimes. I need to meditate more. That is a huge benefit. There's numerous studies on the benefits of meditation. Even just 10 minutes a day, I think, is critical and definitely helps. That's another recommendation. So that's 3. Point 4, walk or moderately exercise for 10 minutes after you eat. If you walk or moderately exercise for 10 minutes after you eat, for a lot of people, that would be more beneficial than going and doing your 1 hour at the gym a day. Now, as you know, I do go to the gym every day, but more important to most people is to walk moderately fast or moderately exercise. So you could potentially do something like hanging from something like, a monkey bar type thing, or hanging from something, whatever you got to hang on. You could do a few push-ups. You could do some crunch. You could do some actual planks, whatever the case may be. 10 minutes after you eat, that's what you want to do. That will actually lower your blood glucose spikes and provide you with a massive reduction in blood glucose. Now remember, 80% of the Western population, 80% of us have some form of metabolic disease. Mitochondrial disease, metabolic disease, they are very inextricably linked. And remember, most of the illnesses and diseases we get have some sort of connection to metabolic disease, which means pre-diabetes or diabetes. 80% of the Western population has pre-diabetes to some degree. It might be small, might be large. There are different variances of that disease. Now, if you go and do this every day after you eat, 10 minutes, it's pretty easy to do, to be honest. You can just, if you don't have anything, if you can't walk anywhere, just when you're at your desk, just do something like sit beside your seat and hold your legs up in the air for 10 minutes. Do a few sets of that for 10 minutes. It's actually quite easy to do. Number 5. Okay, this is a 2-part thing. Remove any TVs. If you've got a TV in your bedroom, that's a terrible idea. Don't have a TV in your bedroom. But more important than that is putting blockout curtains on your windows. Now, most people think blockout curtains are what they see at Spotlight and what gets advertised, where they do remove most light, but there's still a fair bit of light coming into your room. And a lot of people have said to me, I've got blockout curtains. I've gone to their house and I've said, mate, the light's going to wake me up at 7 a.m. in the morning, even with these so-called blockout curtains. So what you need is blockout blinds or something that will completely remove the light from your bedroom or from wherever you sleep. 0 light should be entering through your window. And I mean 0. Through your door, through your window, you want to block all light coming into your room. You can see that light. Even when you're asleep, your body can see any form of light. So make sure you remove all light. And it is harder than you think, but the easiest step you can do is when I moved into this house, we just called a company and they have blockout blinds. They're proper security blinds, so they do block out all the light, and we got them to install those. Now for children, that is crucial. So many problems with children can be cured by simply installing blockout blinds on your children's bedrooms and getting them to bed at a reasonable hour. It is a crisis with children's health right now, and I believe most of these problems can be easily solved. Now, I've had kids stay over at my house and their parents are shocked. They're like, why did my kid sleep for 3 more hours at your house? I can't believe it. He slept from 9 o'clock at night until 9 o'clock the next day. Unbelievable. And well, there you go. He didn't get woken up by light coming through the door, through the window or through the door. Crucial. Very important for your health. Okay, point 6. Exercise per day, every single day if you can, but not for very long. You don't need to. Exercising for a long time is a terrible mistake. And I've made this mistake for years. I did triathlons, pretty hard triathlons, not Ironmans, but hard ones. I did bike racing, 200-kilometer bike races, and I'd ride thousands of kilometers on my bicycle. That was a mistake. That unquestionably injured and hurt and aged my body. Now, I understand a lot of people love doing this. But the human body was not made to do this. The human body was not made to do extreme feats of endurance. Now, remember, you do cause inflammation in your body when you're doing this stuff. It's going to cause inflammation. You go to the gym, even that's going to cause inflammation, but that's going to cause a moderate amount of inflammation that your body can handle. When you're doing these huge events, doing these 100-kilometer runs or rides, that's when so much inflammation will be created that your body just breaks down. And it is not good. Have a look at the faces of marathon runners, for example. Do they look healthy, or do they look like they're prematurely aging? They all look like they're much older than they actually are. You don't need to exercise like that, but you do need to exercise 3 to 5 minutes once a day. That's what I recommend. Now, if you want to do it twice a day, that's great, even better. You can do 3 to 5 minutes. But here's the key. You need to exercise at a minimum of 90% of your capacity for 3 to 5 minutes. As in, you could run for say 3 minutes or 4 minutes or 5 minutes, but you've got to run hard. So you've got to run at minimum 90% of your capacity. What you're doing by doing that is you're training your body for VO2 max, which is the amount of oxygen your body can basically process and get through. Now, all elite athletes have a very high VO2 max. And guess what? Elite athletes, they also have longevity. Elite athletes always live longer on average than the rest of the human population. In fact, significantly longer. And the key reason is VO2 max. So there's many studies that link longevity, and not just actual longevity, but also quality of life with how high your VO2 max is. If you want to know what VO2 max is, you can actually get an Apple Watch, or there's many different devices, and they give you an approximate. Apple's one works quite well at giving you an approximate number of your VO2 max. The only other way you can professionally test it, you can go to a professional testing company. They will tell you your VO2 max by getting you on a machine, an oxygen machine. It costs a bit of money. But to be honest, Apple's system works quite well. It's within a couple of percent of accuracy. So if you want to test it, you can check it with your Apple Watch. The way to train and increase your VO2 max is to exercise for between, as hard as you can, 90% or more, for 3 to 5 minutes. It's harder than it sounds, but it's not very long. You don't need to go and spend 40, 50 minutes at the gym, an hour at the gym, 2 hours at the gym, killing yourself. That's not going to give you the benefits that you really want. So think about it this way. 10 minutes after each meal, right, of just moderate walking or exercise, low-grade exercise. That's only 30 minutes. Then you're doing your 3 to 5 minutes of a run or a ride or swimming or walking upstairs, something where you're going hard for 3 to 5 minutes. So now you've only done, say, 33 to 35 minutes of exercise. That's much more beneficial for you than going to the gym for an hour, for 2 hours, doing these crazy fit sessions, being absolutely knackered for the rest of the day. Really, why do people do that? It's not because of science. It's more because of emotion. It's because they get told things. It's like a religious ideal, really. So that's what you want to do. That's going to train your VO2 max. And the two greatest things that determine longevity that we have on numerous massive studies, the two greatest things are VO2 max and muscle mass. So muscle mass is crucial, especially for females. Females, to maintain muscle mass, need to do a few things. I'm going to do a separate video about that as well. So your exercise regimen for the day is just 10 minutes after each meal, but that's not hard exercise. It's just going for a walk and doing something pretty simple. 3 to 5 minutes once a day. And in addition to that, you want to do 10 minutes of some kind of strength exercise. Could be 20 minutes if you want, but that's all you need to do. 10 to 15 minutes, some kind of strength exercise. Push-ups, hanging and doing chin-ups. Could be going to the gym and doing 10 or 15 minutes on the bench press or leg press or bicep curls or bent over rows, 10 to 15 minutes. So now every day you're going to be exercising for a total of around about just under 50 minutes. That's the perfect exercise regimen. It meets all the criteria. It doesn't drain your body too much. You're doing 3 to 5 minutes of aerobic exercise. You're doing 10 to 15 minutes of strength exercise, and you're gonna do a moderate walk or something like that for 10 minutes every time after you eat. That's the perfect exercise for the day. Now, next, I want you to try and remove oxalates from your diet. Chris Hemsworth, the Australian actor who's obviously been in movies like Thor, he got really, really sick. And he couldn't understand why. He was so incredibly exhausted. He just couldn't get up out of bed. He felt terrible. And the problem for him was, for years, he'd been doing what I had been doing. That is smoothies, health smoothies with nuts and almonds and spinach. And guess what? Almonds and spinach have a toxic amount of oxalates. Your body has to purge. In fact, your body actually stores oxalates. You can purge them out using antihistamines and other things, but it takes many, many months. And oxalates are poison. In other words, when you drink your so-called healthy almond smoothies and eat your spinach and other things like potatoes with the skin on them, there's quite a few different foods. Chocolate is especially bad. The three worst foods for oxalates are chocolate, cocoa. The cocoa is where the oxalates are, spinach, and almond milk. So they're the three worst. So try and remove those. Just remove those three things from your diet. That'll be a significant improvement. If you can remove as many sugars as you can, that's good as well. Now, no human body can actually get rid of oxalates without going on a weird protocol, which I've kind of gone through myself, which is quite difficult. And you go on all these antihistamines and other drugs and you try and purge the oxalates. And the oxalates actually can start coming out of your eyeballs and it's really quite disgusting. But anyhow, the point is oxalates are not good for anyone. That means spinach and almonds, potatoes and with the skin on, and chocolate, those things are not actually healthy. Dark chocolate, that's not healthy either, simply because of the oxalate content. Now, I've read several books on this and I recommend don't worry about it, just remove those things from your diet. Next, if you want to increase your energy significantly, have ice baths, but don't have an ice bath. Now, what I mean by this is the industry has this extreme kind of hero mentality. Get in an ice bath. It's full of ice. It's going to be amazing for your body. You're going to feel great. And you know what? It's extremely painful. Nobody can comply with this. The best diet is a diet you can actually comply with. Nobody sticks with these hardcore diets. They never do. They never do. Name me one person that's stuck with a hardcore diet for their whole life. No one does it. And that's why no one actually does cold therapy for a long time and actually sticks with it, or so-called ice baths, because they're just too hard. It's too painful. It's not comfortable. It's extreme. I'd say less than 1% of the population actually does ice baths. So you don't need it like that. Studies show that anything between 6 to 11 degrees Celsius will give you a similar effect. So it doesn't need to be that freezing. My ice bath that my boys use regularly, it's sitting at around 10 degrees Celsius, and that is perfect. You'll get a big dopamine boost even at 10 degrees Celsius. And that's one of the big benefits of ice baths, a dopamine boost. That's why you don't want to do it in the evening and the nighttime. You're going to feel more energized, more excitable, and then you're going to go sleep and you're going to feel like you can't sleep. So the right time to do it is any time really before 5 p.m. in the evenings or 6 p.m. in the evenings. That'd be okay. But anyway, anytime before then. But this is something we bought for Shanna, which is also good for anyone, for her to do hot and cold therapy. That's her oncologist said that this would be good for her to do. So here's your ice bath. Now we run this off solar. This will turn itself off when the sun goes down, so we won't pay for electricity. But at the moment, this is about, all right, I'll jump in. It's about, I think about 9 or 10 degrees Celsius. So it doesn't need to be freezing. This is still cold enough for you to get a good response. All right. Now, obviously you want to get your head under. You don't need to spend heaps of time in here either. Most people are not going to comply with it. If you spend too long, if you want to go in for 10 minutes, too hard. You don't need to do that. Just jump in here for say 1 or 2 minutes. That's enough. And then jump back in your sauna for another 10 minutes, then you're done. Spending hours is not needed. So yeah, about 10 degrees Celsius, 9 degrees Celsius, that's really all you need. Maybe a little bit colder if you can handle it, 8 degrees. But for me, I'm going to blame the kids. The boys are great. They're really good for kids. Get a big growth hormone boost if you do the sauna and the ice bath. Apparently around 20%, 20 times more growth hormone is released versus normal. 20 times. I've seen blood tests from people actually checking this. So for about 24 hours, your growth hormone will spike big time. But it won't have, on the second day, if you do it the second day, you won't really get a big growth hormone spike boost. So just do this, probably, the ice bath for the longer sessions. Only do that a couple of times a week. Now, if you can combine your 10 degrees Celsius bath or shower. You can have a shower. If you've got an outdoor shower that's about 10 degrees or around about that, that'll do the same thing. If you can combine that with your sauna use, so jump in the shower or your cold bath for 10 minutes, jump in the shower or your cold bath for a couple of minutes, 1 or 2 minutes, then go in your sauna for your 10 or 15 minutes, jump back in your shower or your cold bath for 1 or 2 minutes. That's perfect. That's absolutely ideal. And you will feel a tremendous amount of energy increase as a result of that. I feel like doing that has actually fixed my dopamine problem. I feel like I've had a problem with not enough dopamine release when I was a child, so I was often not that happy. And my son can be the same. He can, well, I wouldn't say he's not happy. Both of my boys, though the older one, he's a bit more like me. But get him in the sauna and then doing the 10 degrees ice bath, well, not an ice bath, but you get my point, just for a minute. He just has to jump in there for 30 seconds, a minute, and he does that a few times, and the boys are so happy. They don't fight, they're stoked, they have energy, and they want to do stuff. They're like, Dad, what exercises should we do? Dad, it's amazing. I highly recommend it for your children, for yourself. And I don't recommend using an ice bath. They're ridiculous. Like doing it at 1 degree Celsius or -2 degrees Celsius. It doesn't give you any additional benefits. It makes it hard and it makes it almost impossible to stick with it long term. Finally, sunlight. As I mentioned earlier, humans don't get enough light. And there's many different rays of light that we get, and we benefit from all of that light. There is many studies showing that human beings, we get immense benefits from being outside. Now, one of the studies is this. People have been intrigued for decades. Why do men and women get cancer at relatively equal rates? We shouldn't, right? Men do things. We drink a lot more alcohol. We smoke a lot more cigarettes. We take a lot more risks. We do a lot more stupid stuff than women do. So it doesn't make sense. And the key reason is this, I believe. This is one of the key reasons anyway. Men spend more time outside than women in general. There's a lot more men doing things like working as tradespeople, like working as carpenters, mowing lawns, doing things outdoors, surfing, fishing. That happens a lot more regularly if you're a male for some reason. But anyway, it does. And what happens when you get sunlight is your body actually intracellular melatonin. Now, if you take melatonin before you go to bed, that's great, but your body doesn't absorb it through the cells. It works in a different pathway. You're not going to get all the benefits. Intracellular melatonin is believed to be one of the things that drastically improves or reduces the likelihood of different illnesses, cancer, and many other things. Now, if you're not getting sunlight, you're pretty much getting zero intracellular melatonin. That process just doesn't happen without sunlight. Remember, people who wear sunglasses all the time have less positive health outcomes. They might have better eyeballs, they might be able to see better, but other than that, they generally have higher incidence of illnesses and disease. And one of the key reasons they're not absorbing enough light through their eyes. But it's not just your eyes. Take your hat off. Okay, if you need to put a bit of zinc on your face or whatever it may be, that's okay. But you don't want to do that if you can avoid it. If you can just spend half an hour in the sunlight without anything on your skin, ideal. Now, of course, if you've got perfectly white skin and you go spend half an hour a day in some sort of brutal environment with very, very high UV, that's not going to be good for you. Work your way up. Do 5 minutes, do 10 minutes, do 15, work your way up slowly. Half an hour a day of sunlight. That is critical, crucial. My youngest boy, Calvin, we call him Cal. When he was born, he was fine. And when he got to about 6 or 7 months old, he started to show some serious illness signs. By the time he was 8 months old, he had completely stopped growing altogether. And for several months, he stopped growing, just didn't grow even a single millimeter. And when it comes to the height chart, he was off the chart. So that when it comes to the percentiles, and they'll say, oh, your kid's at the 90th percentile. Congratulations, Mr. Evans. That's great. Well, Cal wasn't even the first percentile. He wasn't in the zero. He was just not even on the chart because he hadn't grown. And he wasn't growing. And the doctors, well, they didn't know what to do. I put him out in the sun every day, half an hour a day, sometimes longer. I tried to go a bit longer, actually, an hour a day. And guess what? After a few weeks of that, about 3 or 4 weeks, bang, he started growing again. He got over his illnesses and his sicknesses, and he became a completely different child. Now, it took time for him to really turn it around. It probably took about 6 months of doing this for him to really change. But now looking at him, he's won triathlon races. He's won swimming races. He's won BMX races. He's a completely different person. But if he doesn't get sun for a while, a few weeks, things don't go well. He starts to get sick. He starts to get nasally. He breathes through his mouth all the time. So if you're unwell, I highly recommend getting out in the sun for a few minutes a day, 10, 20, 30 minutes a day if you can. If you're not unwell, it's equally important. There's so many benefits that we get, including the intracellular vitamin D. But there's also a swathe of new benefits that we're just starting to discover when it comes to those other light rays and when it comes to the other light rays that our bodies actually absorb when we're outside. Finally, my last recommendation: don't drink fluoride. Don't brush your teeth and leave the toothpaste in your mouth. A lot of people do this. If it's got fluoride in it, that is basically making you stupid. Fluoride reduces your IQ by around 5%, and it's not good for you. Now, your water is probably going to have other chemicals in it if it's coming from your mains, from your tap water. So use a filter for that water. You can actually use UV to help fix that water up and purify it. Or you can buy bottled water. Now, bottled water is not really ideal because you can get a bit of plastic going into that water. You know, plastics do kind of go into water as possible. So the ideal scenario is just to get a filter. Put a filter on your tap, put a filter on your water system. That's important. But equally, I believe using chemicals and lathering your body with chemicals is a terrible idea. Now, one of the things that I know women do a lot, they use a lot of shampoo, a lot of conditioner, they put a lot of product in their hair, they use a lot of makeup, they use a lot of soaps, they use body washes, they put nail polish on, so many things. I mean, do you think for the last 6 million years that human beings were putting all this stuff on our bodies, just lathering our bodies in these lotions and soaps and creams and doing this every day? Hell no. There's no way we were doing this for the last 6 million years. It's insane. It's diabolical. So don't do that. Avoid putting all this stuff on your body. To stay clean, you don't need to use soap. You don't. Now, after you go to the toilet, that's a different story. After you do something, for example, I just emptied the bins. Yeah. But what I use basically just isopropyl alcohol. It's about 80% alcohol. And you just, put a bit of that on your hands and that will sanitize your hands perfectly. And that's all you need to do, sanitize your hands. If you're going in the shower daily, you don't need to use shampoo. You don't need to use soap, products, etc. And you probably think to yourself, no, I do. But you'll find after about 10 weeks, your hair actually, it kind of hits this strange thing where it changes and it simply adapts to a new environment. And my hair, for example, I've told people many times, hey, I never put shampoo or conditioner in my hair ever. And people are shocked. They're like, hang on a minute, you must have dirty hair. And they'll put their hands in my hair and they'll go, oh, your hair feels totally fine. It feels like mine does. And that's right. You don't actually need it. So to stay clean, you don't need it. You really, really don't need to use all these products. So I highly recommend just steering clear of them. Now, if there's one you want to use, if you determine that you need to use soap in certain areas, I get it. I understand. That's fair enough. But try to minimize that as much as you can. So that's my 10 points, guys. I'm just going to summarize those for you. Number 1, sauna. If you can use it 4 or more times a week, brilliant. But if you can't, well, do as much as you can. You don't need to go in it for long, only 10 to 15 minutes. Cold bath or shower afterwards, before and afterwards, or not even with the sauna. You can do it separately. That's fine as well. Number 3, red light therapy. Red light therapy is incredibly important. You want to look into those red lights, keep your eyes open. You can listen to music, you can listen to an audiobook, you can listen to, whatever you listen to. 10 minutes after you eat, 10 minutes of walking, 10 minutes of whatever kind of exercise, 10 minutes of getting active after you eat, each time you eat. 3 to 5 minutes of intense exercise per day. That means sustained. 3 minutes of running around an oval, 3 minutes of hard swimming, 3 to 5 minutes of cycling hard up a hill, 3 to 5 minutes of walking upstairs, whatever it is. But you've got to be going hard. You don't want to be going easy, just jogging around for 25 minutes. That's not what we're going after. We're trying to improve and increase your VO2 max. Next, 10 to 15 minutes of strength training. Extremely important. Remember those 2 factors associated with longevity. One is VO2 max. The other one is strength, how strong you actually are. There's an incredible amount of studies proving those two factors are the most important for your health span and lifespan, but health span in particular. But you don't need to do a whole massive workout. You don't need to go crazy with these intense, crazy sessions. 10 to 15 minutes is fine for actually working out. So what do we got here? A 3 to 5 minute intense run or exercise, and then a 10 to 15 minute strength training. 10 to 15 minutes, it's not difficult, right? I'm sure you can do that. You don't need to do more than that. 10 to 15 minutes, you could be doing push-ups and chin-ups. You could be doing bench press and bent over rows or bicep curls. Anyhow, do that daily, and I think that's the ideal regimen. So that's number 6, strength training. Number 7 is blockout blinds. Put blockout blinds, and I mean complete blockout blinds on your windows. That's extremely important. One of the reasons I believe that most people in Southeast Asia are often tired. Almost everyone is tired. Talk to people in Southeast Asia, you go and live there. I've lived there for different times of my life, and everyone's tired. They don't use blockout blinds. They don't get enough sleep. They get woken up early in the morning. Very important. Now, what you can combine with that is earplugs. Very important that you don't have roosters or any kind of road noises waking you up. Put some soft earplugs in, and that will help as well. Number 8, reduce chemicals. Reduce all those chemicals you're getting exposed to, whether that's in your water, in foods, from processed foods, through your soap, through your shampoo, your conditioner, your creams, your blah, blah, blah. Reduce your chemical exposure as much as you possibly can. Remember, everything you rub on your skin, it's basically like eating it. Yeah? If you don't want to eat it, don't rub it on your skin. Number 9, meditate. I don't think you need to do this for very long, but meditating, I think 10 to 15 minutes a day is really important. Now, you can combine these things. This is the awesome thing about all this. I'm going to get to that in a second. Sunlight. Now, sunlight is extremely important. That's the 10th point here. And getting out in the sun for 30 minutes a day is very, very beneficial to your health. If you can do it, I highly recommend doing it. Alrighty, all this sounds like too much, doesn't it? It sounds like I've got to do all these things. Actually, it's not really all that much. It's only less than an hour of exercise a day. Less than an hour of, actually, well, to be honest, 30 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 minutes after you eat. That 30 minutes is not difficult. Let's go for a walk. While you're doing that, you can meditate while you're walking. Listen to some meditative music, right? Now you're doing 2 things at once. This is the key to actually achieving this. Do 2 things at once. All right, you're doing your red light therapy. Perfect time to meditate. Absolutely perfect time to just think of nothing, listen to some meditation and guided meditation music, doing your red light therapy at the same time as you're meditating. Got to go outside. Now remember, when you're outside, if you can, you want to do some grounding. So stand on the grass or stand on something in your bare feet. So really, if you can avoid standing on concrete or some sort of man-made surface, that's better. You're going to get some possible benefits from the earth, from the magnetism of the earth, that people say there are benefits. I'm not sure on that, but it's possible. So if you can, when you go outside, do your meditation, right? In the sun, outside, when you're walking, and listening to your meditative music. So now you're doing a few things, right? You're going for your 10-minute walk, you're meditating, you're getting some sun, right? So if you just wear a singlet and shorts when you're walking, you can actually combine it. So now you're getting your sunlight, right? You're doing 10 minutes of walks a day. That's giving you your sunlight if you wear singlet and shorts or something that exposes your skin. So you're doing multiple things at once. What about the sauna? Well, sauna's the same deal, right? You can sit in the sauna, you can listen to meditative music, you can get some sort of benefit from that, listen to audiobooks that kind of maybe teach you new things, teach you a new language, inspire you, teach you new skills. Do 2 things at once. That's what I recommend. So that protocol is actually entirely achievable. And that's what I recommend to everyone. I think that's the perfect protocol. And after being through what I've been through, guys, over the last few years, I've spent a lot of time. I've spent thousands of hours researching many different clinical journal studies, looking at many different videos, listening to experts, and putting together all the things I've seen from all these different experts, Andrew Huberman, all these different people that I've been listening to. I've put together their protocols, taken bits and pieces from someone, taken bits and pieces from another person, and this is what I've come up with. I hope it benefits you, and I'm sure that you will see an improvement in your health if you're able to follow it.